Abu Dhabi just recently got its first quantum computer.
Yeah.
This opens up such a vast number of opportunities for this region. This is what this country and this region needs to build from ground up. Build a framework that is attractive to these thought leaders. We're probably the biggest company that no one's ever heard of. So under Guidepoint, there's over 900,000 people, almost 1 million.
Welcome back to another episode of the Change Officer podcast, brought to you by our friends at podster.com. If you are looking to turn your executives into industry influencers and develop meaningful relationships that will help you grow your business, you should definitely consider starting your own podcast, and no one better to support you at that than Podster. So make sure to hit them up. All right. The experts finding experts is the slogan behind Guidepoint, New York-based company with offices all around the world that connects clients with vetted subject matter experts from 4 corners of the world. My guest today is the Golden Visa holder, Bilal Sabouni, Managing Director for the Middle East, Africa, and Turkey region at Guidepoint. And over the next 45 minutes, we are going to find his views on how the region is changing, what the future holds, and what can we do to make the best out of it. I am Vuk, and you are watching the Change Officer podcast. Enjoy. Welcome to the Change Officer, Bilal.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Pleasure to be here.
Thanks for coming, man.
Thanks.
As we warmed up now before we started actually recording, I'm really curious to hear about different perspectives about the region, what region is going through, and where the region is heading, more specifically UAE. So let's start by talking about the change region has been going through over the previous 20 years. What do you think about it?
Okay, well, you specifically said 20 years, which is quite interesting because everyone's talking about the 20 years, particularly with respect to Afghanistan and what's happening there. And that's a significant change. And I guess it marks the beginning of a chain of events that occurred across the region. So it was the original war on terror, where the US kind of went into Afghanistan, and that kind of cascaded into the Arab Spring, which then spread across North Africa. We still see remnants of the Arab Spring happening in Syria and the turmoil there. And currently, Lebanon is going through some sort of economic issues. But on the other hand, there's also explosive growth, massive growth over the past 20 years. Dubai is a fantastic example of that. The change that has occurred in Saudi Arabia and the change that will continue across the region. There's massive amounts of wealth, big pockets, and an intent to change, an intent to modernize, and an intent to if we're going to call a spade, there's an intent to compete. I think when you speak to government leaders, they kind of shy away from the word compete and competition. Yeah. It's more about collaboration and complementing each other. And, we're not in competition with various different Emirates or various different GCC countries here. But hey, come on. Yeah. There's nothing wrong with it. Let's compete. Let's create a region that's better for residents and citizens. And overall, we're elevating the region's standard as we compete with each other in various different circles. Sure.
Yeah, I agree. It's really fascinating. If you think about the region thousands of years ago, the center of civilization, scientists, invention, it was all happening here. Now certain things happen along the way. Some other parts of the world developed more, but there is now a lot of discussion about, and we had some interesting episodes in the Change Officer as well, building the Middle East as it once was, right? Mm-hmm. Where do you see the biggest opportunities in the region? If we, let's say, focus on the Middle East or more specifically GCC or even UAE, how do you see this part of the world evolving?
Well, rebuilding what this region had is a priority. it's a stated priority of certain countries, including the UAE. So the UAE and Dubai has come out and said that it wants to create a knowledge economy. And similarly across the region, there are more and more countries that are adopting this philosophy. So I think again, the intent is there, the backing, the money is there. I think they'll do it. It won't be easy. In these circles, academia, the medical professions, to attract talent, it's not about paying them. A leading physician, researcher, academic, not necessarily motivated by cash or the fancy, glitzy lifestyles that some of these regions kind of are offering. They're here for research. They're here for pools of talented students and the ability to publish and the ability to create fantastic, innovations and have R&D opportunities. So this is what this country and this region needs to build from ground up. Build a framework that is attractive to these thought leaders. Otherwise, we will continue to kind of be a net importer of innovation, best practice, rather than finally reaching that stage where we can kind of begin developing local, best-in-class, best practices and innovations, and then begin exporting that to other parts of the region.
Absolutely. If you look back it's fascinating what happened over the previous, let's now say 30, 40 years in UAE in specific, and the infrastructure that was built, people that were brought in. Now, the next 30, 40 years are going to be significantly different. When it comes to the economy, where do you see the biggest opportunities for UAE?
I see a lot of opportunity in tech, deep tech.
Deep tech, when you say, you mean nanotechnology, quantum computing?
Yeah. I don't know if you read in the news, but Abu Dhabi just recently got its first quantum computer.
Yeah, saw that, yeah.
And I guess I'm dating this podcast now. My grandchildren are going to listen to this and be like, oh my God, my grandfather was alive when the first quantum computer was delivered. But it's exciting, super exciting. This opens up such a vast number of opportunities for this region. The applications to healthcare, to anything, all industries is quite enormous. So that excites me. That's quite interesting. But this region is also, developing brand new cities from scratch. So, across Saudi Arabia, there's NEOM, Red Sea development, the line, all these things. In Egypt, there's a brand new capital city that's emerging out of the sand. Here, there continues to be development. So, there is a lot of opportunity, whether it's a laundromat or deep tech, ag tech, med tech, fintech. There's endless opportunity here.
What's in the way of turning all of those into opportunities into a sustainable economy on the long run?
I think a lot of that is driven by legislation and kind of political will. So if this country and this region continues to evolve in the way that it is evolving, it continues to attract investment, it continues to create an open landscape for investment and for people to prosper and gain and build wealth, and then I think this region will continue to be an attractive landscape. There is no, the tax philosophies across the region are still very, very attractive. So the Golden Visa that was announced, again, these things are incrementally making the country more and more attractive.
You mentioned Golden Visa. You're one of the first
That's right.
in UAE that received the Golden Visa status. And I think it's great, the whole program. And the fact that you got it. And then I'm sitting with you now. This was one of the biggest concerns for a lot of expats living in UAE. Thinking long term, where I'm staying, where I'm living, what happens if I lose my job, etc. And I think this is one of the problems that is critical to be addressed, and it's great to see it being addressed. Tell us more about that Golden Visa program. What it is structured about, and how do you see it impacting the country?
Yeah, no, it's a welcomed development. I don't think it will be exclusive going forward to certain people by invitation only, the way it's been kind of rolled out initially. I think it will become more and more the standard. I think it's the way kind of to go if you want to retain talent. I don't know if it's necessarily something that will attract new talent. The fact that you kind of have this kind of 10-year golden visa, I'm not sure. I think the next step, which would be a passport, might attract talent. I mean, there would be talent, there would be investment that would come in chasing that passport.
Do you see that coming?
I would, in my opinion, it's a logical evolution of a golden visa permanent residency type. I mean, we've seen it before. Other countries have done the same. In my opinion, I think it's certainly doable. It will be a game changer. I would expect probably the UAE to be the first to do that if it were to come out in the region. And then I think it would cascade across the other GCC countries and beyond. They can set the thresholds that they want. They can, calibrate this tool as they wish. But I think it would be a fantastic move.
What's interesting now to talk about is probably if we had this discussion in 2019, it would be of a different sort, and expectations would be different. At the time, Golden Visa was maybe an idea, and some other announcements were made after COVID struck us. So COVID accelerated this way of thinking a lot.
Yeah.
Do you see something similar that can happen in the future as well, that can accelerate this significantly?
Well, as horrible as it sounds, there could be the next COVID. There could be COVID's not going to go away anytime soon, and there's going to be that that churn of people. People want to move to cities and countries that are better managing their healthcare and their healthcare systems. The UAE has a first-rate healthcare system. I think it's clearly evident that we're able to manage the pandemic. We're able to open up in a thoughtful way. We're able to allow people to live their lives and prosper, while at the same time kind of controlling the spread of the disease. There are other countries like New Zealand that have an absolute zero tolerance. One case and they shut down the entire country. Wow. I think if scanning the world, if there's anywhere that I would want to be, it's probably here.
Yeah, no, I think we all felt quite comfortable being in UAE during 2020 and now 2021. All right, let's talk more about Guidepoint. So when we initially spoke about it, you told me Guidepoint is probably the biggest company in the world that very few people know. You never heard of. Yes, sounds like a secret society. We are everywhere.
Yeah.
Tell me more about it.
Yeah. Look, Guidepoint is a really exciting and interesting company. We are an intelligence and knowledge sharing platform. And like I said, I jokingly say it all the time. We're probably the biggest company that no one's ever heard of.
What do you mean by that?
Well, we are, so under Guidepoint, there's over 900,000 people, almost 1 million people under Guidepoint. And these Guidepoint experts are all over the world in 190 plus countries. We are onboarding new Guidepoint experts at the rate of about 20,000 a month.
Wow.
So the scale is enormous. The reason why we're not as well known as we probably could be is because we're very strong in the B2B, B2G, sectors. We're not a B2C service or product. So while Uber and Airbnb are very, very well known, and they participate in the sharing economy in that space, we actually predated them, and we help pioneer the concept of sharing. In fact, we're 5 and 6 years predated both Airbnb and Uber, creating this philosophy.
Can you unpack now for the audience what does Guidepoint actually do, and how do you do it?
So Guidepoint, we work with two stakeholders. One stakeholder is the 900,000 plus Guidepoint experts. These experts are thought leaders, are gurus. They are keepers of a very, very specific knowledge set or intelligence around an industry, around a market, around something, a topic. And then on the other hand, we have research thirsty clients. These clients want and need to know something very, very fast. The things that they need to know are very, very specific. And the areas and topics that they're looking to discuss can be very easily answered by these experts that we have on the other hand.
All right.
So essentially, we're that platform, we're that organization that connects the two via a process that we've developed and we continue to obviously roll out. There's a lot of vetting, screening, compliance applied onto the process so that we're matching the most appropriate experts to the clients that are looking for, again, very, very specific questions to be answered. And we're doing that every single day, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times over. Today, we're facilitating about nearly 3,500 engagements a week.
When you say engagement, what does it mean?
So it could be anything as simple as a 1 hour telephone call. So we might have a client in Beijing who's looking to explore the market for eggplant farming in Kenya. And so there may be somebody that perhaps is no longer in Kenya, but was the leading eggplant farmer of Kenya for 2 decades.
But it's interesting. How do you source these experts?
Yeah.
Do they come to you, or you approach them?
Normally, we're headhunting them.
All right.
So we would go out into industry. We've got our teams, our associates found all over the world, and their job is to go out and recruit the expertise that's required. Now, today we've got this massive contracted network of almost 1 million people. So by and large, we have the knowledge already within our network, and we're able to source it and extract it very, very quickly because these people, we're managing their areas of knowledge already. But where it is so niche it maybe wouldn't have been requested yet, we do have these teams that jump into industry and recruit it afresh. So we find this eggplant expert who may be on vacation in the Maldives, who may be retired in Los Angeles, who may be anywhere in the world. We find them, we onboard them, and we kind of supply them to our client.
Interesting. Guidepoint just recently set up Middle East operations, right?
Yeah. So in 2019,
all right.
We set up
just before. Did you see something coming?
It was kind of almost timely. We've grown consistently across our time here in the Middle East. We had a number of clients before setting up the office here, so it was just a matter of getting closer to our clients and I guess embracing the momentum that we had already generated, serving the region from other offices around the world. We've grown throughout 2019 into 2020. We kept growing. The usage of our service shifted. There were clear mandates from Guidepoint to kind of address concerns by our clients that were arising during that time. There was a lot of uncertainty, and our service was required to kind of clarify the ambiguous. We continue to grow, and every year we're getting larger office spaces and hiring more people, and I'm super excited.
So the balance of full-time employees and contractors I guess it's like a lot more on the side of contractors, right?
Sure. Yeah, we've got tens of thousands of experts in the region.
Super interesting.
Yeah.
So going forward now, what's the focus of Guidepoint? Where are you investing your time the most now?
Continued growth, and continuously offering our services at better quality rates and faster, and just optimizing small tweaks. I mean, we've got a fantastic model. It's a well-oiled engine. Guidepoint has been in operation for nearly 2 decades. So it's just a matter of getting out there, expanding our market. GCC is core, but North Africa is very interesting. Turkey is very interesting. And we have this new market of Israel handed to us very recently. So we're beginning to do more and more work there. Exciting times.
What are some of the most exciting areas of focus for you at the moment?
In terms of requests and clients?
Yes, and types of projects, yeah.
Yeah. I can't get into very specific details due to certain confidentiality, but some of the most interesting projects that we are turning around are not necessarily cutting edge, and things like, I don't know, like potentially honeybee farming in Azerbaijan, and what the supply chain is for extracting that honey and shipping it to Turkey. Optimizing certain sectors, legislation even, so policy experts. So building, we get some forward visibility as to what the region is thinking, both from a private sector standpoint and from a public sector standpoint. Interesting.
All right, let's switch gears now a bit and go 15 years ago when you were very young, Bilal. Tell us more about young Bilal, kid Bilal.
Young Bilal, kid Bilal. Young Bilal, kid Bilal was a bit on the naughty side. Not a very good student. Through college, I was more interested in my parties and meeting people and not necessarily hitting the books. But then that changed. I did my master's. I got serious, and I threw myself into work, and I enjoyed every single.
How old were you when you got your first job? Your first earned dollars.
I was really young.
All right.
I was really young. I was probably 9, 10.
9, 10?
Yeah.
You were selling lemonade on the street or what?
Close. My first job was to take care of our neighbor's house, watering their plants, feeding their pets while they were away. If we didn't travel during summer, I would go and it was a service that I became very well known for. I was very good at it. I made very good money.
Nice.
I made very good money. Yeah. So that sparked an interest in me to kind of have to again work hard. I had to wake up early because again it was summer, right? So before it got too hot, I'd have to go I had my route, I had my plan, my strategy to be as efficient as possible.
Wow, 9-year-old and you're developing that kind of strategy and thinking.
Yeah.
Interesting. Where did you grow up?
In the States.
In the States?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
You moved around during your life journey?
Yeah, I did. So born and raised in the States, then due to kind of circumstances, my father passed away, and we decided as a family to move back to our origins, my mom's origin, which is Syria, actually. So I moved from California to Aleppo, Syria.
Wow. How old were you then?
I was 15, 16.
How was that for you at the teenage years?
Yeah, it was, I don't know. I'm quite an adaptable person. So I wasn't hit as hard as you might think. I landed in an international school there. So surrounded by, quote unquote, westernized people, but from various different cultures. It was our school there being international, surrounded by a lot of different cultures. So it was I think an eye-opening experience for me, and something that I think built me ready for Dubai and the landscape that I'm now able to kind of work with here.
No, absolutely. No, I think all of these kind of changes in life that happen make you tougher, learn you some new lessons in life that are helping you later on down the road. The longer you stay comfortable in the zone where you're growing up or not changing your environment, I think the harder it is for you to adapt later on.
Yeah.
And if we map out a lot of people who were on the show that are at this stage of their life, leaders, either business owners or working as like leaders for their companies, have very similar story behind them. And very often they moved places, especially people from UAE. Very few of
our second generation.
10% of population is actually
right.
Were born here.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So it's interesting. Is there any period of your life that had a significant impact on you now when you look back and you say, okay, these couple of years or this set of events or this event really impacted me a lot to who I am today?
I think the early years of Dubai. So when I got here in 1999, between 99 and 2001 too, before Dubai was really kind of on the map, it was still kind of a little known large town. I think that those were really interesting days, and to experience the initial phases of growth was super exciting. To really fully understand that almost anything is possible. Okay, I remember, so as I was going to college here, I was put on a kind of an internship type of role with the government. And I remember going out into the middle of the desert, and my project manager, team leader, opened up these blueprints and started to describe to us how over there's going to be this massive Microsoft building, and that's where their regional headquarters are going to be, and this is where Oracle is going to be, and this is where HP is going to be.
Was that Media City where we're sitting today?
Absolutely.
Wow.
Absolutely. It was desert, not a single thing. And desert for kilometers.
Was at the time when Sheikh Zayed Road wasn't in the shape it was today, right?
Yeah, it was much thinner, and there were a whole bunch of roundabouts and bridges that were there. But yeah, no, and over the span of just 1 year, they turned that barren landscape into, a lake and grass and buildings, and they started attracting names that we thought were just, impossible. I mean, why would Microsoft and these big companies move tens and hundreds of people over here and establish a footprint for what? Why? And they did it.
How did this impact you at the time?
Yeah, it certainly expands your, it pushes your limitations and
of
boundaries. Of what is possible and what is impossible. With effort, almost anything is possible. So I think that was a really interesting philosophy to instill in me, and I still think now today there's very little that is impossible.
Wow, very interesting. I like to ask the question, and it's based on a series of events that are happening around the world. There is this movement that is called How I Fucked Up. And excuse my French. And they're celebrating failures.
Right.
All right. And usually they're bringing in people who are sharing their stories about how they failed, which later on set them up for a certain success, taught them a lesson.
Yeah.
Do you have any favorite failure of yours in life? Small or big?
Yeah. Well, I mean, to kind of shift a little bit just for a second, because failure is a lot about what Guidepoint actually does. So Guidepoint accelerates failures in a good way, because a lot of our clients that are looking at business opportunities and investments and projects, these are early stage projects, and while there's nothing wrong with failing, our clients, if they're going to fail, they want to fail fast and they want to fail cheap. If somebody has the bright idea to sell ice to Eskimos and goes and launches an ice factory on the North Pole and sticks with it for 10 years, then there's something wrong with that person. But if they do that and they decide very quickly that no, that's not the market, then that's fine. They've tried it and then they exited very, very quickly.
And if they do that and they manage to sell ice to Eskimos,
well, then there you go. So, we're constantly in that space. We are not only supporting the growth and, the innovations and the positive opportunities of our clients, but we're also accelerating areas that are doomed for failure through expertise, through people that will advise and tell these clients of ours that, look, your product will not work. You're looking to sell eggplants in Kenya. Well, the size of your eggplants are too small. The local market here wants very large eggplants because of a certain dish, and so it's these insights that are very, very interesting. Now, myself, I've certainly had my fair share of failures. You've put me on the spot. Whether it's a failure in a personal relationship, or whether it's a failure in a business setting, we've all had them. We've all had breakups. We've all moved from job to job, and I think with every transition, you learn something. You get better. You better yourself. You understand dynamics. You understand how to deal with people. So no, I'm very happy that I've my career, I've not stuck to one company. I have moved various companies, and each and every single transition I learn something and I get better.
No, absolutely. The life of is just a set of experiences and some outcomes of those experiences. It's all about how you read them and how you evolve from one to another. If you look at your life now, how satisfied are you? From 1 to 10, what would you say? And
I want to say 10 because then I'll just go jump off a building. It's over. I think I'm 8, 9. I'm really, I'm satisfied with what I've done so far. I mean, I'm still rather young. The gray hasn't come out just yet. So I think there's still a lot to do. I think there's a lot to pass on. I'm in a role with Guidepoint that I truly believe in the product and the service that we're doing. The spread of knowledge, the democratization of knowledge is very, very important to me. I believe in it. If the first caveman that discovered fire kept it to himself and was eaten by a tiger a week later, where would today be?
Exactly.
It would be very, very different. So I truly believe in the mission to spread knowledge and to create a better society for everyone.
Interesting. All right, my last question before we jump into a short quiz game. As the change officer, if there was one thing that you could change in the Middle East, what would that be?
I would want greater stability across the region. I think this, when people in the West, quote unquote West, think of the region, they just think the first thing that comes to mind could be Dubai and the flashy glitzy life, but it's probably the fact that this place is always just seems to be at war. And I was on a call with an internal business call and last week, and the first question that my direct boss asked me was how are things. We're watching the news and Afghanistan is a disaster. How is this impacting you? And I think that, there's just genuine uncertainty. People genuinely think that Afghanistan is, you can see the smoke and fire. While it's still far away, but it's not good. It's not a good perception to have for the region. I think it does impede our growth. And I would want this region to stabilize. I would want the leaders to kind of work more closely together, work towards the greater good, compete, but compete in a way that obviously does not lead to kind of destruction and turmoil.
We will try to echo this message across. All right, we are going to jump into a quick game quiz. So I'm going to ask you one versus another, and then you just pick one for me.
Okay.
All right.
I'm not very good at these ones because I'm too kind of diplomatic to. But let's see how it works out.
I think it's going to be easy for you. All right. New York or Dubai?
Dubai.
Ants or elephants?
Ants.
$10 million or bonus 5 years of life?
I think the quality of my life at that point will be a little bit... I think $10 million, because I think with that $10 million, I can probably give 5 years of life to a lot of people.
Camping in Al Qudra or hiking in Ras Al Khaimah?
Hiking.
$100,000 in marketing or $100,000 in entertainment with clients?
Entertainment with clients.
Turning back time or seeing the future?
Seeing the future.
1 year on a deserted island or 1 year in deep jungles of Amazonia?
The jungle.
Being invisible or being able to fly?
Invisible.
Making a bridge or jumping across?
Jumping across is more fun.
Long and steady or fast and furious?
Yeah, if it was a few years ago, it would have been Fast and Furious, because that's how I was. But now it's long and steady.
Great advice or life-changing experience?
With great advice, I mean, I never listened to great advice. I was always the one to jump into experiences. So
nice. The Change Officer podcast or the Chris Fade show?
Change Officer.
All
every
the way.
time.
Thanks for coming, Bilal.
Thank you.
Super fun.
Thank you. Appreciate
Thanks
it.
for sharing all the insights. It was really valuable for me. And I hope you guys enjoyed as well. I hope that you picked up some good inspirations and thoughts. And that this is going to inspire you to work on a better self and on a better reach. If you like what we're doing here with the Change Officer podcast, please like and subscribe. It's going to mean the world to us. And stay tuned. There is another episode coming out next Monday. Thanks for staying with us until the end. Take care.